Now, novelist Faye Weldon, writing in the Mail this week, says that she's against government plans to offer marriage counselling on the NHS to couples who are having difficulties in their relationship. The scheme is primarily aimed at couples who are warring due to the fact that one party may be suffering from depression. So why is Faye upset? Well, speaking from her own experience, she reckons a marriage counsellor can actually be detrimental to a marriage that could otherwise have been salvaged. I had hoped for wisdom and advice, she says, but instead found meddling and malice. So in our own experience, have we found that marriage counselling is more trouble than it's worth?
Well, I think, you know, with Faye, she's probably a coper. She's one of these that sorted it out in her own mind, and that's why she thought somebody was meddling. But there's an awful lot of people out there who haven't got a network, who haven't got a family to go to, who haven't got anybody to confide in. And sometimes you just need someone to talk to. So I'm all for anybody who can sit and listen to anybody's problems and try and sort out, because you always think when a marriage is going wrong that it's your fault. Always. So I just think for someone to sit and listen... Well, you did.
Can any of us talk from personal experience, though, about having gone to a counsellor?
Yeah, I went to one. No, I honestly, at the time, when my first marriage was going wrong, I mean, it never actually went wrong. It was wrong right from day one, and well, it was. And you know, as it kind of went on, and we did keep sort of trying to make it work, and when it kind of went so bad, I thought, I did actually think, is it me? Is it me? Because, you know, there's certain things that happen that make you think it's you. And I did think it was me, and I thought, you know, on one time he disappeared, and I thought, well, I'll go and find out, go and see somebody. So I went to a marriage counsellor on my own.
Did you ask him to go with you?
No, because he wasn't around. He'd gone AWOL.
What did she say?
He'd done one of his disappearing
Maybe a good sign.
So, no, but she just said to me...
Did she make you feel better?
Yeah, because I told her exactly as it was. I didn't embellish, and I didn't make things up, and I didn't tell it like it was just my side of the story. I said exactly what was going on. And she did say to me, she said, look, you know, you don't need to worry about a thing. You really don't. I don't think it's you. And I thought, well... I didn't really think it was me, but you do
just
doubt
needed
yourself.
somebody.
Yeah,
it's a bit
do.
like why people go to psychics and things as well, isn't it? They want you sort of to confirm that the decision that you've made.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a bit like this. I've never been to one. I had a bad experience of counselling with my depression, so that kind of put me off counselling as a rule, but I know that's a different thing to relationships counselling. But I, as you know, I'm not always a believer in honesty always being the best policy. I'm not talking about being a compulsive liar, but I think there's some couples who are absolutely say, I have to tell everybody everything. And I do think that men, and I hate to generalise, but I do think that men sometimes think, if I say that, it will offload my guilt and it's onto you. I've always been a firm believer, for example, that if my partner, either current or in the past, had a one-night stand that meant nothing, I don't see why I need to know about that. I mean, I'm different in that there's worse things to me than sometimes a sexual infidelity.
Know, but sometimes they need to tell you because they need to offload
that's what I've
their
just
own
said.
guilt.
That's
exactly what goes wrong.
That's exactly. So therefore, my worry might be that if you go to a counsellor with some things that could be eradicated without going, that they would make out this thing that everything has to be told, everything has to be on the table, and maybe not necessarily everything does.
Every counsellor's different, and I think everybody has a different way of dealing with things. I'm all for counselling. I'm all for talking. You know, there's nothing. I don't hold anything back, and that's where relationships go. They go wrong because my ex-husband couldn't talk. My ex-husband couldn't do that, and we had problems, and I think it would have been a good idea for us, for a third party, rather than you say the same thing, please talk about it, let's talk about it, please open up. You know, men, not all men, most men find it very difficult to be as open as we are, and I'm very open, and I'm quite happy to sit down and go, this is how I feel, you know, you're making me feel like this. You know, it wasn't as easy as that, and I think to sit down with somebody who we didn't know might have been
But what if you've got someone who, you know, and I'm not saying I know anybody like this, but what if you've got someone who never admits to being in the wrong? And, you know, it doesn't matter if... it doesn't matter if a counsellor sits there and says, well, you know, the first step to recovery here is you admitting that you're at fault. And then you've got someone who just never would. And you do meet people like that. So,
well,
so
my ex would have just tried to get off with the counsellor if I'd taken him along anyway. He would have.
It is about also what you did. Everybody is different. I mean, what you've just suggested
It's horses
there,
for courses, isn't it?
What you suggested there, a lot of people could not live with.
Exactly.
A lot of people
and
couldn't
also,
live with.
just very quickly, what we've got to bear in mind, that the NHS are supporting people with depression, and as we all know, depression is very different from just being fed up in a marriage. So to me, any help for that illness is you know, bring it on.